The first real problem with the Dragon Ball Super remake has finally appeared, and honestly, I didn't expect this to be the thing that bothered me the most. We finally got a new teaser for Dragon Ball Super, Beerus, and overall, it looks way better than the old 2015 anime already. The compositing is cleaner, the colors look more balanced, the effects are less plastic looking, and even though it's still following Yamamuro's style direction, it feels far more polished and modern compared to early DBS. So before anyone misunderstands me, this is not one of those DBS remake is ruined videos, because visually this project is already a massive step up from the original anime. But despite all of that, there was one thing in this teaser that instantly made me go, "Ah, man, they're doing this again?" And yeah, I think many of you already know exactly what I'm talking about. They repeated the entire sequence of Goku losing Super Saiyan God and continuing the fight against Beerus in regular Super Saiyan. And this is where the controversy begins, because for years, this moment has divided the fandom badly. Some people love it, because it shows Goku adapting and evolving during battle, while others hate it, because they feel like it instantly cheapens Super Saiyan God. And me personally, I've always had mixed feelings on it, because here's the thing. Out of all three versions of Battle of Gods, the movie version, the original Super anime version, and the manga version, I actually think the anime version is the best overall. Yeah, I said it. Even with all the rough animation and production issues, I think the anime version has the strongest emotional core and the most interesting version of the fight itself. Beerus and Goku's dynamic just feels more expanded there. The pacing gives moments more room to breathe, and thematically it feels like a proper beginning to Dragon Ball Super. But despite me loving that version the most, this specific scene was always the weak point. Now before we continue, let me clear up one of the biggest misconceptions in Dragon Ball history, because somehow this misinformation still exists after all these years. Goku did not absorb God Ki during the fight against Beerus. That is not what happened. If Goku actually absorbed the literal God transformation and permanently made it his own during the fight, then there would have been zero reason for him to lose the form midway through battle in the first place. What Goku absorbed was the power level, or more specifically the fighting power output, of Super Saiyan God, not the actual divine state itself. There's a huge difference there, and once you understand what divine ki actually is, everything suddenly makes sense. Divine Ki is not some completely separate energy system from normal Ki. It's basically normal Ki that has been condensed, refined, and elevated to a divine level through specific training methods and techniques. That's why normal mortals can't sense it properly. So during Battle of Gods, Goku wasn't magically mastering divine Ki instantly. He simply adapted to the combat level and power pressure of the God form itself, which honestly is a very Dragon Ball thing to do because Goku has always been an absurdly adaptive fighter. And this is why the plot hole accusations never really made sense to me. Dragon Ball explains this stuff poorly sometimes, yes, but the actual idea itself isn't inconsistent. The real issue is narrative execution. Because even though the explanation works logically, emotionally, and dramatically, the moment still feels kinda lame compared to what Super Saiyan God should represent. Think about it. This was the introduction of an entirely new divine realm of power. This form was hyped up as legendary, even among gods themselves. Beerus literally came searching across the universe because of a prophetic dream surrounding this transformation. So when Goku loses the form midway through the fight, and just continues throwing hands in regular Super Saiyan, it immediately weakens the aura of Super Saiyan God. And yes, I understand why they did it. Narratively, the writers needed a reason for Beerus to become interested in Goku, beyond just the ritual transformation itself. They needed to show that Goku's spirit and fighting mentality transcended the form. That's the whole point of the scene. Beerus starts respecting Goku not just because of divine power, but because even after losing that power, Goku refuses to stop fighting. And honestly, thematically, that's beautiful. That part I actually love. But the execution still feels underwhelming because instead of elevating Goku naturally, it unintentionally lowers the importance of Super Saiyan God itself. It becomes less of this mythical, unreachable transformation, and more like a temporary stepping stone. Which is ironic because later on, Toriyama himself literally said Goku realized it was better to master and refine their base states rather than endlessly chase bigger transformations. So, in hindsight, Battle of Gods was kinda trying to set up that philosophy from the very beginning. The problem is that In the anime version, the transition from God back to Super Saiyan happens so quickly that the divine transformation loses its impact almost immediately. And this is why I actually appreciate one thing the manga version did, even though overall I think the manga Battle of Gods adaptation is weaker. In the manga, Goku never has this whole absorbing god power moment the same way. The implication there is more that Goku was already capable of reaching that level through training potential and adaptation. It feels less like he stole power from the transformation, and more like he naturally climbed toward that realm during battle. And honestly, I kinda prefer that idea. Not because it's more logical, but because it preserves the mystique of Super Saiyan God better. The form itself remains special instead of instantly becoming disposable halfway through its debut fight. But then, I started thinking about something else entirely. What if there was an even better way to handle this scene? Like, imagine this for a second. Goku loses Super Saiyan God exactly like before. The time limit runs out. The red aura disappears. Beerus looks disappointed because he thinks the fight is over. But instead of Goku suddenly keeping god-level power through absorption nonsense, he simply transforms into regular Super Saiyan and continues fighting anyway, despite knowing he stands no chance. Not because he secretly retained divine strength, but purely because his mentality refuses to break. And then Beerus, out of respect and curiosity, lowers himself to Goku's current level. Think about how insane that would be narratively. Beerus would intentionally nerf himself just to see how far this mortal's determination can truly go without divine power carrying him anymore. That would have been peak Dragon Ball. Because one of the biggest themes in the anime Battle of Gods is that Goku mentally surpasses Beerus in a way no one else has before. Beerus has existed for millions of years, destroying planets, crushing civilizations, seeing warriors rise and fall endlessly. Yet Goku is the first guy who genuinely fascinates him. Not because he's the strongest, obviously he isn't, but because his spirit literally doesn't bend. Even after losing the power of a god, he keeps moving forward. That's the part Beerus respects. And if the remake expanded on that idea, instead of repeating the absorbing god power concept, I genuinely think this fight could have become even better than the original anime version. And this is exactly why I'm still incredibly excited for the remake, despite this criticism. Because if this is my biggest complaint so far, then honestly we're in a pretty good spot. The visuals already look cleaner, the compositing is miles ahead of old Super, the atmosphere feels more cinematic, and according to reports they're aiming for a darker and more serious tone overall. That especially makes me excited for future arcs like Goku Black, because that arc desperately needs tonal improvements. Imagine manga-inspired darker lighting, stronger compositing, better choreography, and more consistent animation during future Trunks timeline destruction scenes. Bro, if they cook properly, the remake could genuinely become the definitive way to experience Dragon Ball Super. And let's be honest here, this remake existing at all is already insane. A few years ago, most fans thought Toei would never revisit early Super. People just accepted the messy production forever. But now we're actually getting a second chance at these arcs with modern production pipelines, better scheduling, and a more unified artistic direction. That's huge. And I know some fans still complain, saying, why remake Super instead of just animating Moro? But honestly, I think both projects can benefit each other. The remake lets newer fans experience Super in a cleaner form, while also rebuilding excitement for the franchise before Moro eventually drops. It's basically Toei rebuilding Dragon Ball's anime identity from the ground up. And if Moro ends up looking anywhere near the level people are expecting, yeah, Dragon Ball might genuinely enter another golden era. Especially now that the franchise visually seems to be moving toward one unified modern style direction, inspired more by Toriyama and Shintani's softer aesthetics instead of the hyper-glossy plastic era. You can already see the difference. Characters feel more alive now. Colors breathe more naturally. Effects don't look like they're melting on screen anymore. And that matters way more than people realize because Dragon Ball's visual identity was honestly struggling for years. So even though I criticize this Super Saiyan scene, I'm criticizing it because I care. Battle of Gods is one of the most important stories in modern Dragon Ball history. It reintroduced the franchise to an entirely new generation. It gave us Beerus, Whis, Divine Key, multiverse concepts, everything. This arc deserves the absolute best treatment possible. And maybe, just maybe, the remake can still surprise us. Maybe there'll be expanded scenes, better dialogue, more emotional build-up, or even slight narrative adjustments that improve this moment overall. We still haven't seen enough yet to fully judge the project. But for now, this is officially the first thing in the DBS remake that made me go, yeah, I wish they handled that differently. And honestly, that's kinda exciting too, because it means we finally have new Dragon Ball anime content worth deeply discussing again. Now it's shoutout time from the previous video. Rip_Shadowmine commented, I hope SSB will be overpowered in the remake because it was treated like trash in the old anime version. And honestly, bro, same. Blue deserves redemption badly. So yeah, that's about it. If you enjoyed this video, then like, subscribe, and help us reach 25,000 subscribers. We are getting closer every single day, and the support recently has genuinely been insane. Thank you all so much for sticking around and talking Dragon Ball with me every day, because honestly, this community has made this entire journey special. But until next time, take care and see ya!